In this short tutorial, I'd like to take a few minutes to share a few tech integration strategies and ideas that have worked for our staff at Ontario Christian High School and in my own classroom over the first few months of this school year. We are currently in our first year of a Chromebook one-to-one program. So one thing to start with is perhaps if you've been integrating tech, you've noticed that there certainly are times where it becomes frustrating. It may take longer to teach a particular lesson if you're using a tool that students need to learn. Maybe you've had technical problems, a document isn't shared correctly, or the internet is slow, or the network, for whatever reason, is having problems that day. Or maybe you're finding that when you integrate tech meaningfully, lesson plans need to be reworked. All of those are certainly realities. And maybe you've even found that your students do get distracted, or at least can get distracted, with a device in front of them. And all those frustrations are real and valid, really. However, the point here is to ask the question, so what's the point? Why are we in our high school and in many high schools around the country and around the world striving for more tech integration? This is by no means an exhaustive list or the best reasons, but there's some that come to mind when we reflect on these first few months of the school year. One is, with a device, students can get instant feedback. So we can give students instant feedback on their work in class. If used correctly, they can also give feedback to teachers about what's most effective for them as the learner. This being tech integration and devices in students' hands, allows them to collaborate in real time, which is a big deal. It'll also allow students to learn differently, that buzzword of differentiated instruction. If we do it well, different learners can learn in different ways in the same classroom at the same time. It also can help students own their learning. They can become problem solvers, not just students that have their hand up until the teacher happens to have a spare moment and get to them. Their devices can help them in solving their problems and owning their learning. And students can share work so much more easily if they're done digitally with the device. So the rest of this screencast and video is just going to be introducing some slides. I've also linked this slideshow in the comments on YouTube, and I'd encourage you to click there, pause this video whenever you need to, and take a look at some of the examples that I've provided and links that are there. And it might help you think about how you could integrate some of these ideas in your own classroom. You can contribute as well by commenting. You can comment on this YouTube video down below, or you can comment on any of the slides of that slideshow that I've linked down there. Either one works. Would love to have some collaboration, as we talked about earlier, between educators with this particular slideshow. That'd be really helpful. So one of the ideas was instant feedback to students, that we can give them direction as they create, as they write, as they create a website. We can be there right alongside them. We don't have to wait for the product to be turned in. And I've linked a video here from Google Guru about commenting in Google Docs. Is just one of the ways we can give instant feedback to students. If you don't know about that technique, I would really encourage you to watch that video and see if you might be able to use that in your own classroom, or if you already are. I'd love to know about either. Also, students can give instant feedback to teachers. I've done this a few different times, and I have to be ready for some students to put on their critical hat for a few moments and tell me some things I might not want to hear. But often it's encouraging and it's really helpful to know what works for students and what doesn't, at least what their perception of what works and what doesn't work. So there's an example linked there, and there's another video from Google Guru that I think might be helpful in developing a form or a survey to give to students about what they think of class. And it's a really good way to model accepting feedback, which is something we'd like all our students to do, is accept feedback and critical feedback well. The third reason that we think tech integration is the way to go is because it allows students to collaborate in real time. And there's a helpful video here about how that happened in a history class, I believe. And there's some examples over there to the left too about how that's happened in my own classroom. Another reason to integrate tech more fully is it allows for differentiated instruction, which I mentioned before. Below there are 2 ways students got instructions for a particular assignment. One was through a video and one was in written instructions. And some students did much better just figuring it out, just getting the tool in their hand and playing with it, trial and error. All 3 of those worked, and all 3 were okay with me in class. And it did help students to feel like they were directing some of their learning. So there's one example of how you can differentiate instruction. There's many more ways. Also, it can help students own their learning and become problem solvers. I included a few examples down here. Feel free to pause and spend some time reading those, or click on the link in the comments to have access to the slideshow like I told you before. But there's a couple problems from classes where perhaps tech integration isn't at the forefront. In choir or in a woods or construction class, those are places too where especially this, students owning their learning, can be utilized. Lastly, students can share their work more easily. Just this semester I've had students create website portfolios for their work in a computer class, and I think it's really helped their motivation because they know that that work can be shared with anybody, and it's something that they can take with them even if they happen to throw away their folder for my class, which actually they don't have. But if there was a folder to throw away, they would still have work to take with them, and it's become something that they're excited about. They get to design not only what goes on each page, but the banner for their website. And they post all of their videos and assignments from class on this website. And so it's helped out with motivation. So there's some examples for a website and then also a video from my class that they've created as well.